Hello everybody, Raven Knight here, and welcome to another episode of How to Build. This is a series where we take a look at all of my created characters in the For Honor roster, all the characters that I made for Legends, stories, or just campaign-related characters, and I teach you guys how to build them yourselves by going over their armor sets, weapon sets, executions, paint patterns, color patterns, all of it, so that you know how to make them yourselves, so that you can take these characters into battle yourselves, and also give you a chance to kind of understand what was the process that we went through to create these characters. And today we have a very special treat for you guys. This is a Warmonger character that I did design, but I had some help with from my friend Hannah and my brother Lark. We actually sat down and talked out this character for a whole 2 or 3 days so that we could make this one work, especially after the whole controversy of the last Warmonger video, which we're not going to go into here. We're going to leave that behind. Today I would like to introduce you to my brand new Warmonger character, Elena, also known as Olga. Yes, she is based on an actual historical person, and we will talk more about that later on. But first, I just want to let you guys know that this was a very fun character to design. I really like her story. I'm going to really look forward to making her legend video very soon. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into who she is and how you build her. So let's talk about Elena. So first of all, how to build her armor set. Her armor set's pretty basic. You're going to want the Sabactis alternate helm, the Sabactis chest, and the Sabactis arms. Now, I will tell you that if you want to get a little bit fancy, you can go with the Dysnomia alternate arms. Those will work well too, to give her more of a more domineering, heavy-shouldered feel. But honestly, the Sabactis set works well. So like I said, Sabactis alternate helm, Sabactis chest, and Sabactis arms. So you're going to want to make that basic look, and you can get these pretty early on in the Warmonger setup. So if you are new to Warmonger and haven't played her very much, work with her a little bit to get this armor set, but it's going to be well worth it. For the weapons, you want the Grind Blade, the Grind Hilt, and the Grind Guard. Pretty basic, like just all three going down the list, because we want kind of a rose theme with her, like a kind of a thorny rose theme. And I know some people are like, isn't that Horkos' whole theme, the rose thing? Kind of, sort of, yeah, but still, I feel like this is going to fit with her, and you're going to see why when we explore a little bit more of her character. So like I said, Sabactis alternate helm, Sabactis chest, Sabactis arms, Grind Blade, Grind Hilt, and Grind Guard. That is what you're really looking for. It's going to create a good set for your character. Really like the design. But because of the color palette that we have on this sword, it's going to affect a lot of what we do later. So let's go ahead and dive into the rest of this. For traits, you want default 1, obviously. And you're going to want the basic, your default color skin palette. But honestly, you're not going to see much of it anyway, so there's not a lot of point. So go with whatever you feel like, but I went with the basic. All right, for the chest, we do not have a paint pattern, we do not have a symbol, but we do have an embossing. The rose embossing, which you get by completing the Night Story on Realistic. So if you complete the Night Story campaign on Realistic, you will get this embossing. So go play that, get this embossing. It's a really cool embossing. You're going to want that for the chest. I like this because it gives a texture to the chest, but it also ties into her story. A sword going through a rose, you're going to see more about that in just a minute. For the right shoulder, we want the Pentagon paint pattern, which you get at level 13. So if you've had any experience with Warmonger, you should be able to get this no problem. No symbol, no embossing, just the paint pattern. And that's because it's going to be covered up by the ornament, which we'll talk about in just a minute. And the ornament is also very important to what we're doing, so you'll find out. For the left shoulder, it's the exact same thing. Pentagon paint pattern, no symbol, no embossing. But again, it goes well with the ornament. The ornament that you're going to want is the Thorns of Fortitude. Now, I like the Thorns of Fortitude because not only is it, again, connected to the rose, but also because the way it is curved and shaped, it will cover up mostly the distinction between the two sides of the color palette. The lower, which is crimson red, and the top, which is a blacker color. So it will actually fade over that transition, which I think makes it look very cool. So I think you're going to want the Thorns of Fortitude most of all. Now, if you want another one, you could also go Knots of Prominence, but after talking it over with Hannah, she preferred the Thorns of Fortitude, and I have to agree it is a good look. All right, for the standard, actually, believe it or not, you don't want anything. No paint pattern, no symbol, no embossing. Leave it as is. It's going to shine a lot better. It's going to stick out a lot better. I think it looks very glowy. I think it looks very nice. For the back, you want the Fabled Fire Queen 2 paint pattern, and you can only get that from the Year 6 Season 1 Battle Pass. So if you were not involved in For Honor for Year 6 Season 1, I'm sorry, you probably will not be able to get this. However, if you do want something good and you want some kind of difference, then what you can also add is you can go with the Vines Chevron, which you get at Reputation 30. You can go with the Flash Visor, which you get at Reputation 26. Or, there's one more, and it's a little bit easier to get, I think. Scroll all the way down here. You can get the abstract, which you get at Reputation 13, level 6, or the Banners 3, which you get at Reputation 16, level 8. So there are other options, but honestly, I really do recommend the Fabled Fire Queen too. And then no symbol, no embossing, just keep it that way. Keep it plain, keep it simple, keep it working. I think that's the best way you're going to go with this. All right, so now that we've gotten that out of the way, now we got to talk about material and colors, right? So what material are we using? You could probably guess, but we're using the tar material. Now, here's what's cool. I like the tar material because of the way it shines. I like that it gives this sheen on the armor, which I think gives it a very nice presence. But a lot of people say we don't like the super dark, edgy Warmonger look. Maybe we want a different color. Honestly, you could go with black iron, which takes away some of that sheen, but gives it a little bit more of a steel look. You could go with the white iron, although honestly, I see so many players go with the white Warmonger look, like the white armored Warmonger look, that I'm kind of tired of it. Or you could go with the basic iron look, which just gives you that classic knight look. Any of these would work, but I go with the tar look. So go with that one, I would say. That's probably your best one. And for color pattern, brace yourselves. The color for this is Dead by Daylight's Dark Lullaby, which you got from the Dead by Daylight Illustrious outfit, which was only available, I believe, during the Dead by Daylight exclusive event. If it's still available, I don't remember if it's still available now or not, but I know it was available at that time, and that's when I got it. So if you were not playing at that time, I'm sorry. You could also replace it with the Fathers of Understanding color palette, or the Wings of Glory color palette. Or there's one more, you could use the Livid, I suppose, but that's a little bit too bright. Here it is, Red Dusk. I jumped right over it, didn't realize it. So you could go with Red Dusk too. Those would all work, but the Dead by Daylight Dark Lullaby is definitely the best one that I think you want for this one. So that is how you make Elena. I hope you guys like that. Now, before we conclude, let's take a look at the other side of things. We're going to take a look at the feats. Now, the feats are actually pretty easy. You're going to want all of Warmonger's default feats right out the gate. You want Corruption Blade, Elixir of Corruption, Power of Corruption, and Corruption Blast. Now, you might be thinking, Raven, why do we want all the basic feats of Warmonger? Well, not only are these a good combination of feats for Warmonger in general, but for Elena, it makes a lot of sense given her family backstory. I'll give you a little preview. In her story, her family, like her, she is the daughter of a count, and she is set to inherit the count as a countess and inherit the land that she is promised. And this land is a major mining land where they mine Draconite ore, which Horkos and Chimera both need, which is going to put her in a very prominent position with the two. And because she has such easy access to Draconite, I think it makes sense that she has all the Draconite weaponry that she could possibly need. So Corruption Blade, Elixir of Corruption, Power of Corruption, and Corruption Blast are your best bets with her. Now, let's take a look at the rest. For executions, we went with Sovereignty, Slaughter of the Sheep, Death by Arrows, and Humiliation. All right, so you might be thinking, why all these? Well, we liked Slaughter of the Sheep and Humiliation because of how strong, menacing, and kind of embarrassing they were for the enemy. And what she's going to do later, what Elena does in her story, is she basically humiliates her enemies. She becomes very brutal, very vicious, very vengeful, and we see some of that come out in these executions. Sovereignty is just efficient, and that's something that she's all about. She is an efficient person. And then Death by Arrows ties into a very special part of her lore. I don't want to give it away just yet, but it's a very crucial part of her lore that I think you guys will like. So Hannah and I couldn't resist giving her this one because it fits very closely to something that happens to her in her story. So I think y'all will like that. Now, if you don't want Death by Arrows or don't have Death by Arrows and you want to keep it all Warmonger related, you can also go with... One second, got to get down to it. You can also go with Evisceration or Perforation. Any of those would be fine. All right, next for emotes, you want Much Disappointment and Paired Chest Bump. Now, I did the paired chest bump because Hannah liked that a lot. She thought it was funny, and she thought it'd be cute to give to her. I personally think that you could also go with Dramatic Frustration or unstable resource. I like unstable resource because, again, she has access to Draconite, which means that she would probably have a lot of this on hand. And much disappointment, largely because, yeah, she doesn't have patience for a lot of people, so you'll see that come out in her story. For combat, she has Mocking Bow and Wolf Might. Those are the two that she has at her disposal, Mocking Bow and Wolf Might. Both of these combat modes give her a little bit of a stronger presence. This one's kind of humiliating, almost like I dare you to even try, like bring it on. And then Wolf's Might, very similar, just showing that you'll be mine, like I'll take you on. So I felt that would be a very fitting one for her character. For signatures, there are a few you can use. Now, Hannah likes sphere skills. Now, this actually doesn't have anything to do with this sphere of fate that the Aphira had. This is actually very different, and I'll explain in the legend about why this sphere is so important to her. But you could also use fire breathing, and we could use We Are Immortal. Any of those would work pretty well. And then finally, for effects, none. We don't give her any effects because she's a very realistic kind of person. I suppose you could give her some kind of Draconite effect if you really wanted to, given her connection to it, but you don't really need to. She doesn't really need an effect. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how to build Elena, or Olga, and we will talk more about her legend later on. Are you guys interested in this character? Do you like the way she looks? Do you like the way she feels? Are you kind of excited to hear about what her story is all about and what you can expect from her? Do you think you'll be making Elena yourself? Or do you guys want to hear her story? Let me know down in the comment section below if you're excited. And I will see you guys in my next video. Take care.